There is a number on your door right now, and you probably pass it without a single thought. Maybe you chose it. Maybe the building gave it to you. Maybe it was already there the day you moved in and you simply accepted it as part of the place. But what if that small number, that quiet detail you see every morning and every night, is doing more than helping people find your home? What if it is shaping the feeling inside your house? What if the tension, the heaviness, the delays, the pressure you cannot explain are not random at all? Stay with me, because this is where most people stop listening and later wish they had not. We notice bills, we notice noise, we notice stress, but almost nobody notices the entrance. And that may be the first mistake. The front of a home is not just a practical space. It is the first message your house sends. It is the point where outside energy meets the life you are trying to protect. If something is off there, even slightly, it can affect more than you think. And before you brush this off, just hear it through to the end, because one simple change at a doorway can shift the atmosphere of a home in ways people only understand after they finally do it. You may know this feeling already. Money comes in but somehow never stays. Health improves, then slips again. Peace enters the house for a few days, then disappears. Conversations turn tense too fast. Children seem restless. Sleep feels lighter. The home looks normal, but it does not feel settled. And when people live with that long enough, they start blaming everything else. The economy, their age, their workload, the pressure of modern life. And yes, those things are real, but sometimes the deeper issue is much closer than that. Sometimes it is sitting right at the entrance in plain sight every day, announcing a certain kind of energy before anyone even steps inside. In old Jewish teaching, the doorway is never treated like just wood, metal, paint, and a handle. It is a threshold, a meeting point, a border between chaos outside and the peace that should exist inside. That is why the entrance matters so much. That is why the doorway is guarded. That is why what appears there matters. And yes, that includes the number. I know this sounds unusual at first. Good. It should. Truth is often ignored precisely because it hides inside ordinary things. Keep watching, because in a moment I am going to explain why numbers were never seen as empty marks and why some of them were understood to carry a weight that affects the home in very real ways. In our tradition, numbers are not dead symbols. They carry meaning. They echo language. They connect to spiritual ideas far older than modern logic likes to admit. Every Hebrew letter has a numerical value, and every number can point to an inner pattern. That is why number study was never treated like a joke or a puzzle for entertainment. It was used as a way of noticing hidden layers inside reality. Not fantasy, not fear, a way of paying attention. And when that number is placed on the entrance of a home, at the exact point where your private life begins, it is not just labeling a unit. It is setting a tone. It is posting a signal. It is creating an atmosphere at the most sensitive edge of the house. Think about that for a second. You can fill your home with prayer, effort, kindness, and hope, but if the entrance itself carries a draining message, then everything that tries to enter blessing, calm, strength, even joy, meets friction at the very front. That is why the doorway matters so much more than people think. This is also why the mezuzah is placed there, and not in the middle of the kitchen or above a random window. The entrance is where things begin. The entrance is where protection stands. The entrance is where a home declares what it welcomes. And if that is true, then it makes perfect sense that the number hanging there should also be examined with open eyes instead of ignored year after year. I once saw this become painfully real in a family situation that changed how I looked at the subject. A good family moved into a new place. On paper, everything looked fine. The neighborhood was decent. The rent was manageable. The apartment was bright enough. It seemed like a fresh start. But not long after they moved in, one problem followed another. Business trouble, health struggles, stress in the house, emotional weight that would not lift. They did the normal things people do. They prayed more. They tried harder. They looked for practical solutions. They checked the obvious areas. Still, the pressure stayed. Then the entrance came into the conversation. The number on the door was 17. Some people hear 17 and immediately think, that sounds positive, that sounds harmless, maybe even good. And on one level, people can make that case. But deeper readings around doorway energy are not always so simple. Sometimes a number can sound good in one setting and still carry heaviness in another, especially at the threshold of a home. That was the warning. The issue was not panic. The issue was friction, restriction, a subtle spiritual tightness sitting where openness should have been. A small adjustment was made near the number. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic, but it was intentional. And over time, the atmosphere shifted. No magic trick, no performance, just the feeling that the house could breathe again. And if you are wondering whether this really matters, keep going, because the number most often linked with blocked doorway energy is even more surprising. The number most strongly warned about is 4, and also any number that reduces to 4 when you add the digits together. So that includes numbers like 13, 22, 31, 40, and others in the same pattern. Why would 4 matter so much? Because in Hebrew thought, 4 connects with the letter Dalet, and Dalet has a deep double meaning. It points to a door, which already makes it important at the entrance. But it also connects to the idea of poverty, lack, depletion, something thin, something missing, something unable to hold what it receives. Now pause there, because this is the part many people feel in their life before they ever hear it explained. Blessing arrives but does not stay. Progress begins, then drains out. Love grows warm, then cools again without a clear reason. Energy returns, then fades. Opportunity appears, then slips. It is like trying to fill a vessel that has a small opening at the bottom. Enough comes in to give hope, but not enough remains to create peace. That is the image, a threshold that leaks, a doorway that does not hold. And when the entrance of the home carries that message day and night, the atmosphere can slowly mirror it, not always in dramatic disaster, often in something more exhausting: delay, instability, repetition. The feeling of almost enough money, almost enough peace, almost enough health, almost enough unity. If that sounds painfully familiar, do not click away now, because the good news is this can be addressed in a simple, respectful, practical way, without fear and without turning your home into something strange or extreme. The first step is easy. Look at the number on your door honestly. If it has more than one digit, add them together until you reach one single number. Do not overcomplicate it, just reduce it. And if the result is 4, pay attention. The next step is the most important one. Add a Hebrew letter near the entrance in a visible and thoughtful way, especially the letter Hey. Hey carries the value of 5. It is linked with divine breath, presence, life, and blessing. Where 4 can signal depletion at the doorway, Hey adds life at that same point. It shifts the message. It softens harshness. It changes the spiritual feel of the entrance from lack to welcome, from narrowing to expansion. This does not need to look dramatic. It can be elegant, small, beautiful. A plaque, a framed letter, a simple design placed near the number with care and intention. The point is not decoration. The point is presence. A clear, visible reminder that this threshold is under holiness, not randomness. And before someone says, is a small letter really that important? Remember this: homes are changed by small things all the time. One harsh word can darken a room. One kind sentence can heal a whole evening. One object at the entrance can influence the tone of return and departure every single day. So yes, details matter. And if you are following closely, there is another part many families ignore, even though it may be even more urgent than the number itself. Check the mezuzah. Not someday, not when you finally get around to it. Check it soon. A mezuzah that is damaged, faded, or no longer valid is one of the first things serious people look at when a house feels spiritually off, because the mezuzah is not jewelry for the door frame. It is not there to make the home look traditional. It is there as protection. It marks the entrance as sacred. It announces that the home belongs to something higher than fear, noise, and confusion. If that protective point is neglected, the entrance loses strength. And, while you are there, do one more thing that sounds simple but matters more than most people realize. Look at the physical entrance with fresh eyes. Is it clean? Is it calm? Or is it crowded, messy, broken, heavy, full of clutter, shoes, dust, and things that do not belong at a threshold? People underestimate how much disorder at the entrance affects the mood of a home. The body sees it. The mind absorbs it. The spirit feels it. A crowded doorway sends a message that the path is blocked. A neglected door says no one is guarding the opening. A heavy entrance creates heavy return. Clear it. Wipe it down. Fix what is broken. Make the first step into the home feel open, not burdened. You would not invite an honored guest through a broken, dirty, crowded threshold if you could help it. So why let blessing enter that way? This part sounds practical because it is practical. And that is exactly the point. The physical and spiritual work together more than people think. There is also a small practice that can reshape the emotional tone of the entire house over time. Before leaving in the morning, pause for a few seconds at the door. Touch to say hello Allah, to touch the mezuzah. Take one quiet breath and say a short prayer in simple words. Ask that the path ahead be blessed. Ask that whatever goodness belongs to your family find its way home. Ask that the doorway become a gate for peace and not pressure. It does not need to be long. It needs to be sincere. 30 seconds. That is all. But repeated daily, it trains the heart to treat the entrance like sacred space instead of just a passage point. And when people begin doing this, something often changes. They walk out calmer. They return more aware. The home starts to feel less accidental and more protected. If you have the ability to choose an address in the future, then choose with awareness. Do not become anxious. Do not become obsessive. But if you truly have options, then yes, it is wise to notice the energy of the number. Numbers often seen as more positive include 7, linked with completion and holiness, 8, linked with what rises above the normal order, and 3, linked with stability and foundation. Again, this is not about superstition or fear. It is about alignment. Why choose carelessly when you can choose carefully? Why ignore a message at the front of your home when that message is speaking all day and all night, whether you listen to it or not? Now let me say something important so this does not turn into fear. A difficult number on a door does not mean a family is cursed. It does not mean everything bad happening in life comes from one detail. It does not mean faith, effort, prayer, kindness, and wisdom suddenly do not matter. Of course they matter. They matter deeply. But if a person knows there is friction at the entrance and can reduce it, why would they not? We do this in every part of life. If a window is cracked, we repair it. If a lock is weak, we strengthen it. If a room is dark, we add light. So if a threshold is carrying depletion, why leave it untouched? And here is where many people feel the deepest relief. The goal is not to live in anxiety. The goal is to live with awareness, to understand that your home is not just a storage place for furniture and bills and routines. It is a vessel, a place that holds souls, moods, memories, children, marriage, rest, recovery, conversation, and prayer. Of course, the entrance matters. Of course, the first point of contact matters. Of course, the things placed there matter. Stay with me for this final part because this is where the entire message becomes deeply personal. The real issue is not the number by itself. The real issue is whether the doorway of your life is prepared to receive what you keep asking heaven to send. Think about that tonight when you stand near your door. Look at it with new eyes. Look at the number. Look at the mezuzah. Look at the walls, the floor, the frame, the feeling. Ask yourself a direct question. Does this entrance feel ready for blessing? Does it feel open, guarded, honored, and alive? Or does it feel neglected, random, crowded, and tired? Be honest. Because sometimes the breakthrough people are waiting for is not far away at all. It is not hidden in some distant mystery. It is right where they leave each morning and return each night. And if you sense that something needs to change, then change it. Add the letter, hey, if the number reduces to 4. Check the mezuzah. Clear the clutter. Clean the threshold. Say the short prayer. Make the entrance feel intentional again. Then step back and watch over the next days and weeks. Notice the tone of the home. Notice the energy of return. Notice whether the house starts to feel lighter, calmer, more settled. Sometimes the biggest shifts begin with the smallest act done seriously. And if this message hit home, do not ignore it tomorrow. Most people will hear this, nod and do nothing. Do not be most people. Go look at your door. Do it today. Because the way blessing enters a home is not always loud. Sometimes it begins with one small change at the threshold, and suddenly what felt blocked starts to move. What felt heavy starts to lift, and what felt distant starts coming closer than you ever expected.